So, y'all, today's guest is such a beautiful light and a true creative force. Chakra Wanda. She is a professional spiritual encourager and multi passionate creative who channels her gift through writing, painting, and sound healing movement, and now even AI artistry to inspire and uplift others. Her journey is a testament to bold pivots, divine awakenings, and the power of trusting the flow of life. I can't wait for you to hear her story and feel the magic she brings. Let's dive into the soul nourishing conversation about creativity, alignment, and living an awakened life. All right, Sharka Wanda, start with the soul of it all. How do
Okay.
you describe how do you describe who you are and what you do today?
Peace and blessing. First of all, giving just honor to be able to be in this transmission, in this space of acceptance, in this space of allowing. Yes. And who I am, I don't know who that was. I'm just messing with you. I'm just like everyone else. I am a soul, a spirit incarnated in a vessel here on the planet as an earthling. I just happen to be at this present moment a woman of wisdom who has walked this planet unfolding, recognizing who I am, and standing in that confidently and giving honor and grace to life, seeing our lives as a beautiful gift. And so that's who I am. And I intersected with this beautiful soul. We intersected a different way as far as work and business is concerned. And through our conversations and a recognition from within, you seem a little familiar, right? And then we began to have these conversations and realize that we are of like minded awareness and appreciation. So I am Empress Chakra Wanda, yeah, uh, and mother of two beautiful um, daughters, 30 and 36. I've had the opportunity to be a mother. I'm a daughter, I'm a niece, I'm also a spiritual sister, a spiritual mother to others. And I'm still in my journey of choosing to stay awake, you know, to be able to just really enjoy the fruit and the juice from the fruit of life implanted within us, um, having come up out of the uh, places where maybe I might have felt not accepted, how this world kind of can make you feel that way until you just like a butterfly, you just start to emerge out of the cocoon, and then you look at your wings and you see all the beautiful colors, right? Imagine what a butterfly goes through in that cocoon, where everything is broke down, liquid. I can't imagine, and it comes out to be something different, and we encompass that same divine God code. And so here we are right now. So I really appreciate being able to be in a place that is accepting of us in that way.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, love it, love it. We know that you have a divine offering, a healing modality in the range of sound. Let's
Mhm.
hear some of that if you're ready.
All right. I'll say so. Everyone, just take a few moments. We just want to read ourselves and shift in to the next phase of this transmission. And so I'm going to open up with some sound. And what this does, it permeates through the atmosphere. Even though we are in a virtual experience, etherically, we are still in the same chamber, if you will, right? And I am going to transmit with the crown chakra vibration in a gentle way. And just take a deep breath and exhale. It's just enough. That's enough.
That was beautiful. That was
Yeah.
beautiful. So, you guys, I'll give you a little backstory on that, which is a question way down already. But I was able to experience this live with Chakra Wanda at Stone Mountain Park, and it was such a beautiful experience that I had a one-on-one with her. We also had later on a group experience. But when I tell you sound healing, when you have that one-on-one, it is amazing. So I suggest that you go ahead and follow. Uh-oh, she dropped off. I think it's probably the Wi-Fi. But if you ever have the chance to have that experience with her, definitely go follow her for more of that and a one-on-one experience with her. It's really intimate setting. Hi, you're back.
Yeah. On my side, I saw you freeze, and then I just said, "Well, it's gonna come back."
Yes, we're back. Everything always works out how it's supposed to. So yes, well, I was telling them the backstory on how we met, and encourage people to follow you if they ever want a one-on-one sound healing session, which in you're in
Mhm.
the Carolinas, and so you guys can always sign up for one of her personal sound bath healing sessions. All right.
Yes, that's
Yes,
the lake therapy. I take
the
people
lake
by the water.
therapy
I
by
just
the
kicked that
water.
off yesterday, and then I have group um, lake therapy starting March 25th, so they can follow and see.
Nice.
Register in my email and
Okay.
get notified.
Is it
Okay?
March 25th or
Sorry, May
May
25th is the
25th? Okay.
targeted date, and soon I'll put up the registration in the next 24 hours. But I did do a one-on-one to kick off the season yesterday.
Okay. Hi, you have some visitors, Chakra Wanda. People telling you hi. I
It's,
love
it's
it. Make sure to follow her. All right. Thank you so much
okay.
for joining and for the love. If you are just joining, you missed a beautiful live example of her offerings, which is the sound bath healing. As she said, she offers it by the lake. And I had the beautiful experience of having that opportunity to hear her live. It definitely is beautiful. All right, so let's get into it. What does being a professional spiritual encourager mean to you? And
Yeah.
how did that path find you?
Spiritual encouragement began with me encouraging myself.
Yeah.
I'm really, it's many years ago. I would say around early 2005, no, 2002. And I was working in corporate America, single parent, work from home. My inner journey was has always been reflective. Always has been since I was a little girl. As a matter of fact, when I was in elementary school, they had they called my mother to come and pick me up because they said, she's not paying attention. She's daydreaming.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it wasn't until I got into the holistic arena when I looked back and understood the dynamic of us as um, crystal children, like understanding the dynamic that we're not imagining, we're actually in the real world, the spiritual
Mhm.
realm. So I mean, I was chastised for being introspective. So fast forward, I took up journaling and what have you, but we all have these inner conversations. I remember having the conversation, what am I here for? You know,
Mm.
what's this, the, the purpose started pulsating. What's the purpose? What am I here for? So fast forward, I began to write letters, like I'm writing letters to Creator, to God. You know, why am I feeling this way? How can I get through this? Just putting it out on paper. And so that became a momentum of encouraging my soul. And at the time when I was experiencing traditional church, because I was raised Baptist and
Mm-hmm.
Catholic. And what I loved about that, what I could appreciate about it, I never saw a fight between my parents about religion. They exposed me to an idea of this divine experience in the construct of the religious box. And when I say these
Mm-hmm.
things, I'm not saying them defensively. It's my journey, right?
Right.
And so there's a song called Encourage My Soul. It's Encourage My Soul and let me journey on, for the night is dark and I'm not alone. Something like that. I just know it resonated. So that resonated with a series of my writing I call Encourage My Soul. I
Mm.
later created a blog, which is still way out there, encouragemysoul.wordpress.com. So anyway, my writings were personal to encourage myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, that's where that theme has always been. I also recognize as was in corporate America, you know, people would come to me and want to share their personal. I also had the natural feeling of wanting to console, wanting to touch, with words, wanting to be a listening ear, right? And
Mm-hmm.
anything that went through, I may be in the midst of observing it. First, I may be in the midst of absorbing the
Mm.
challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and then I learned how to observe it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then automatically I'm wired to want to remember it in case someone I run across has a similar situation,
Yeah.
right? So that was just a natural foundational discovery. And over time, I said, well, I'm a professional spiritual encourager. Nobody gave me that label. We forget about titles and labels, it's just an expression. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about, well, professionally, what does that even look like? You know?
Yes.
What does that look like being an encourager of a professional thing? So I take that and I use all of my life experiences being being a young introverted child to a teenager to a mother to a corporate worker to a business owner that has shifted multiple times to
Yes.
navigating life threatening situations, putting it all together, writing from it. That's continuous. It's like breathing air.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that means, professional spiritual encouragement.
I love it. And I truly believe that you are that. That's why we call you Mama Wanda. Okay. Because I feel like my experiences are very aligned and similar to you in so many ways, even from you saying that you were chastised as a child for being a daydreamer. My mom kept my report cards, and all of them say at the back that I daydream too much. So that's something we hadn't even shared, and we talk a lot. And that was one of my things as well. But I always felt like I didn't have someone that I could relate certain things with. And so
Yes.
you came into my life in a time that I was also personally shifting and finding, remembering who I was, you know. And so as I was remembering, you didn't even probably realize you was that guy to usher in that newfound person which is remembering who I always was in the spiritual realm. So, yeah, you are definitely a spiritual encourager for sure. And you go so far back that people remember you on here from Periscope. Someone is commenting that
Oh,
Reverend Evelyn remembers you from Periscope. So that's beautiful.
I think I know.
Yeah.
Evelyn.
Yes.
Evelyn, ask her. I think I created a sacred necklace one time and she bought it. Is that Evelyn? Evelyn?
If you're
Bless
still
me.
here,
Yeah.
definitely do chime in if that's that Evelyn.
Okay.
I love it. And so
Yeah.
that's how big and broad your work is and how many platforms you've been on doing this work. Look at you. Look at God showing you you. I love that. And
Uh,
so let's get into it. So your relationship with creativity sounds like it evolved over years from writing and painting to sound and movement. You're currently exploring AI, adult coloring books, and personalized creative offerings. What's lighting you up about this new season with your
oh,
creative offerings?
being open to uh, new portals of opportunity to play. First of all, let me say this. I discovered that there was innate multi creativity,
Hmm.
um, and that it was integral to me, like breathing air, and that it was okay
Hmm.
to be that. Um, I discovered or was shown it's necessary. It's just the energy. Astrologically, from traditional astrology, I am a fire sign, Sagittarius. Don't ask me all the other pieces, but the divine brought to me systems and tools to better understand my makeup. It wasn't
Hmm.
reading a book and telling me, it was a confirmation from the tools that were brought to mind, because there are many different tools, ancient tools that were used since the beginning of time in many cultures. But there's one particular tool that kind of brings a couple of them together. I'm going to mention is called human design. Now it has elevated more expansively to quantum human design. And within that structure, there are types based
Hmm.
on, or auric types, if you will, based on your time of birth, when you were born, where you were born, and all that. And within that is the construct of me as a Sagittarian. But the human design, the quantum human design, I am a manifesting generator,
Yeah.
time bender, time bender. That's what quantum, human design labels it now. Yeah.
Hmm.
And Janice is also a manifesting generator. See,
We have
we
so much in common from Sagittarius, manifesting generator.
are you a December Sag or a November Sag?
December.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, you know, who we are as spiritual beings in our auric expressions. We have like minded kindreds, right?
Hmm.
And so for a manifesting generator is designed to do multiple things all the time.
Hmm.
We have that
Hmm.
capability. There's a generator or a motor within us that has us doing that. And we also have the manifesting piece. But the key for us is when something is presented, an inspiration, whether we download it or someone says, can you do this? We must taste it first, meaning put it on, envision it,
Yes.
and then see how it feels. And then
Yes.
we have to wait for uh-huh or
Hmm.
because
Yes.
if we
That's
roll up
sacral.
in there, we're gonna frustrate ourselves,
Yes. That is so
right?
honest.
So that's just one aspect. And again, labels and titles. Bottom line, babies, love all y'all, sweet things coming in here and seeing this now and seeing it later. Authentically accepting who you are and how you are wired, not just from the traditional third dimensional aspect of all of us are born into this planet. You're going to come through the womb and you're going to come through the vegetation and you're going to show up. But that's not where you began.
Mhm.
You were created in the etheric womb, the womb and the mind of creator that creates everything that you see. Universes are being created right now. We want to put our tiny mind around this idea and put one little name. This nameless, as
Mhm.
far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
So you come down, you here, you're born into the family that you've been assigned to, right? Into the beautiful culture that you've been assigned to, whatever your culture is. You're going to come physically in one of two ways, feminine or masculine. And we have both energetically, right?
Mhm.
And then you're birthed. So the baby learns, you're in the baby avatar. It learns that if it cries, it'll get fed.
Mhm.
Okay? It learns when it watches others to walk. You're still in the vessel. You're still in the avatar. You're going to also be introduced to education, some kind of way. You're
Mhm.
told what your name is. Hmm? You're told to look at a career. You're told all these things. You're in the box of the avatar in the third dimension. What I see as challenging is this. We're not immediately made aware of our spiritual, our blueprint, right? Our makeup, right? To pay attention to the yearnings from the heart, which is an indicator of your divine design, your passion. So, for example, a child might say, "Oh, I see dead people." Ooh, ah,
Mhm.
ooh, don't do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then your natural spiritual gifts may be blocked.
Mhm.
Maybe told, no, don't do all that. And
Yeah.
according to whatever the religion is, you might be either encouraged
Mhm.
or you might be blocked, from not expressing. Some souls come in fully awake.
Mhm.
Okay? You know that place on the top of the head, it says soft, right? We
Yeah.
still connected. If you can see the light, we still connected to the divine. It was Chakra Wanda who told you that. Anybody told me that. I heard that. I feel that. I know that. This is from my lens. You ain't got to
Mhm.
agree with it. I'm just telling you. This is,
Yep.
this is what I understand to be. When they say the babies start looking and they say the doctor say, oh, they're just focusing their eyes. No, they're not. They see their divine team around them. They see the divine team around you. Some babies gonna
Yes.
cry immediately when they see somebody because they see that the energy ain't right. And some of them look at a newborn baby next time and say,
Mhm.
I see who you are. They're gonna look right at you because that's one of them ancestors coming through in that baby.
Wow.
Some of y'all have children that are your ancestors, and they start
Mhm.
to read them to you when you're in the grocery store or when you're driving down the road. That little baby say, Mommy, I think that person needs to not go down that street or whatever. Or
Mhm.
I saw granddaddy last night. You know,
Mhm.
it's those gifts.
Yeah.
Understanding our chakra, our energy center, understanding the capability of shifting brain waves, understanding like right now, I think we in the alpha, you know.
Mhm.
Look, there's about 4 or 5 different brain wave awarenesses. See,
Mhm.
we created a zone, a portal right now, which has no time, although we do have time on this. You understand? Conversation.
Mhm.
So you have your sleeping time, alpha, beta, theta, theta. Okay, look it up. You understand? There's
Mhm.
different brain waves. When we're creating, when you're writing and I'm painting, that's a whole nother brain, right?
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
awareness of being able to change your breath, okay? Your spiritual gifts, all the clairs, clair, C-L-A-I-R.
Mhm.
C-L-A-I-R is a French word, means clear. Now,
Mhm.
the typical everyday person and the word that we're used to hearing is two things, intuition, but
Mhm.
there's layers to intuition. Then you got clairvoyance. There's other clairs, okay? So
Yeah.
some of us have strengths of clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. Some people seeing pictures. Some people get an idea. Clear cognizant. You get a stream of thought. Maybe you know how to put things together and you ain't never have to study for it. Clairaudient. is listening. I mean, hearing. My strengths are clairvoyance, clairaudience, you know. So sometimes when I'm speaking or I'm doing work with people, whatever, you see me look away because I'm listening. I'm listening
Yes.
to my mission, right?
Mhm.
So I know I went to the side, but that's a part of who my makeup is.
Mhm.
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 Because it's a multiplicity. And the creativity, the energy, I have to create. I have to be in motion, but I also have to retreat within,
Mhm.
right? And breathe, reset, calibrate.
Yes.
Where I am now, through the journey of life experiences, many different things, but four major ones that happened. I hope I'm answering some questions that you haven't asked yet.
You are. I was
For
just
me.
gonna say that.
I, I know. So look, no, so I'm gonna get real serious now. In the
Mhm.
sense that how did I come to this point? Navigating this dimension. Third dimension is all about surviving.
Mhm.
You are birthed, you come out into the paradigm box of the idea that you are a human being, you're a male or female, you been told about how you maybe even recognize a divine essence, and sometimes there are atheists that don't believe that at all, whatever your thing is. This is in that box. But then when you start awakening, what does that mean to me? It's like this awareness, like, wait a minute, something ain't right. Or most times it's because you've been catapulted into awakening because of a real serious life situation. Like,
Mhm.
how about being on a bridge and you coming home from work? You sitting in the middle of a snowstorm, and then you hear a plane over you, like, oh, that's kind of close.
Mhm.
Then something catches your eye over here, and
Right.
you look, and the water is coming up over the bridge, and you're
Mhm.
seeing the plane go in the water, cracking the ice.
Mhm.
Yeah, that be me.
Yes.
Washington, D.C. Forgot the years. I think it was in the 80s. Uh, Plane went down in the water. Hmm.
Mhm.
Florida air flight. It was a Florida flight. 79 people, only four survived. I'm
Mm.
getting out of the car. It's like a dream. I'm seeing cars behind me smashed down. You know how you sitting in the car. You
Mhm.
know
Mhm.
this is the where the door. All right.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, blood. Okay, decapitation. I'm stuck in the middle of the bridge.
Wow.
Never will forget it. And
Mhm.
then years later, having my first child, she was 3 years old. In the middle of the night, I'm hearing something in the bathroom. I said, maybe something fell in the medicine cabinet. No. I go back and check again. Arms coming through the window. Mm, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Just two situations that make you leave your body and wonder what the heck is
Traumatic
going on.
experience. Yeah.
And then
And
fast
so,
forward,
right. Go ahead.
2015, tumors showing up in the body.
Mhm.
It's like you're inside yourself and you're seeing these things go on. And then on my birthday in 2022, right here in this house, I had just moved into a neighborhood, everything's good, neighbors feuding, and one is killed. So I'm gonna stop right there. It's not the third dimensional view of it, it is the unseen that occurred in all
Mhm.
of that. In the
Right.
plane crash, a truck had let me in front of them. I would have been in
Mm.
the same position that they were when they were dragged into the river. Hmm?
Mhm. Mhm.
In the house, in the home invasion,
Mhm.
I heard in my spirit, "You shall not be harmed."
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I was
Yes.
able to get out of it. It was something, something spiritual
I had the
happening.
same
I felt
experience.
perception, you know. And
Mhm.
then the tumors, oof, they want to say bone marrow biopsy, and you're gonna have to go to Duke University. I'm not a Henrietta Lacks. You're not
Right.
experimenting on me. And I
Mm-hmm.
had to
Mm-hmm.
speak in the spirit and say, give me a sign. And when I went to the oncologist, there's a board behind the nurse's desk that will always have a writing. And that day, I went in there and there was a scripture. It said, Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you.
Yes. Yes.
And then I said, I need one more sign. I went into the doctor. I said, why do I have to go through all this that you want to send me through? And when she began to speak, it was a garble. I, it wasn't clear. I'm still here.
Oh,
I'm still here now.
yes.
And then in the
Yes.
house, the recovery, the dark night of the soul. We have the dark nights where you're like, I don't
Right.
know what's going on. And I just ask Spirit, help me, like to rise up like a phoenix out of the ashes. And I heard in my spirit, go back to the things that give you joy. And
Right.
during my time as a healer, as a massage therapist for many years, an energy worker, I used a lot of oils. I learned the art of anointing, an ancient
Mhm.
process. And then I began to use my instruments that were gathering dust. I have over
Mhm.
12 instruments people gave to me. I stumbled into becoming a sound healer because the instruments started coming. And then
Yeah.
I bought singing bowls. And then before I get out of bed, I would just, and anoint myself and and just swim in the sound and swim in until I began to feel better and
So
feel
would
better.
you, yes.
Yeah.
So would you say this is what helped you to stay grounded? What you just explained after those traumatic experiences?
Mhm.
Because
After,
I think it's so important to have that groundedness because I've we both talked about our traumatic experience. My traumatic experiences started just from the tender age of 8 months old, where I don't know if you see it, but I have third degree burns that burnt me all the way from here down to my chest as a baby. And
oh,
so that was one of the first traumas that I don't remember, but you do know that it holds into the body. And so
mhm,
I've had multiple encounters like that from car accidents where I had a deep
mhm,
laceration to my forehead and had to
wow,
have
mhm,
stitches inside and out. And so just a lot of different things that happened, but I didn't have the experience on how to be grounded. And I think because I was so young, I didn't have the awareness of what trauma really was to
mhm,
identify with it until I became much older and realized you went through a lot from
mhm.
break-ins to even rape and molestation
Oh,
as a youth as well. And so these are things that I
mhm,
discuss in my book, Finding Your Path to Purpose,
mhm,
Passion, Prosperity with Divine
mhm,
Alignment, because I had to once I realized all these traumas occurred, I wasn't really dealing with them. But when it came to my awareness, I went through the dark night of the soul, as you expressed. And
mhm,
so, what it made me do was press in to really seek who I am. Why were this happening? What's my purpose? You know? And so, once I started doing that, what happened to me, and we kind of met a little bit around that time, a little bit later after. But
mhm,
what happened to me, I had a spiritual download and I automatic wrote like stuff from the Akashic records that I didn't really have knowledge of. And this was
mhm.
my first experience, never heard nobody talk about this. I was into church. I was a deacon at the church. So I'm like, is this even of God? Because I'm so confused what's happening. And so this was a thing that continued to happen, and then numbers started coming to me, like
Mhm,
numerology, seeing 444 and
mhm,
synchronicities, and
mhm,
um, and so I started hearing. I would have a Q&A session with God early in the morning under the full moon,
mhm,
and
mhm,
it's just like, what's happening here? And so I was looking
mhm,
for guidance because I felt like either I was losing my mind, the trauma
mhm.
caught up and it broke
Right.
me.
Mhm, mhm,
Or I'm being answered what I asked. What is my purpose?
mhm,
And so, when I met you later on, I started to understand how God works, how the divine works, and why this was happening to me is because it's for me to share my experience with others who
mhm,
are also on this path experiencing the same things because I know I'm not the only one who felt this way, who felt alone in this dark
Mhm.
night of the soul, and even to the point of severe depression with
Understand.
suicidal ideation because
Mhm.
I didn't quite understand. It's like tethering in
Mhm.
between, you know.
Mhm.
And so you really helped me as a guide, my
Oh.
spirit guides as well. But it's
Mhm.
great to have spirit guides, but it's like I need one in human form that I could
Yeah.
talk to that have went through some things because you don't
Mhm.
always meet people like that. If you do, it's really surface level, and they're not
Mhm.
teaching you how to ground yourself into reality, so you're not dealing with this alone. And so I
Right.
thank you for that. I thank you for showing
Mhm.
up in the time that you did. It made me feel sane
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
that that music, the sound bath healing, definitely opened me up, but also ground me in a way that I realized everything was spiritual. Everything
Mhm.
had a purpose, even my traumatic experiences. And I stopped seeing myself from victim mode to
Mhm.
a person that was an overcomer, a
Mhm.
person that was a healer because I had to heal myself. And
Mhm.
so, if I was able to heal myself with my spirit guides and the help of
Mhm.
you and other like minded, strong women, that I knew that I can help other people heal, not just by like
Mhm.
healing them, but sharing my story that triggers a response of remembering who they are. And
Mhm.
so, thank you for that.
Well, I want to interject two things. Um, First, when we have we can make one of two decisions come in the midst of a dark period,
Hmm.
a life shifting. You can either stay in that darkness. For
Hmm.
me, when I experienced depression,
Hmm.
it was revealed to me, for me, without discounting people that genuinely require levels of medication and support counseling wise. So, disclaimer, if you continue to do what you know you need to do for yourself as far as depression is concerned. But I want to share a metaphorical aspect that works for me is understanding that when I'm depressed, it is because I am not expressing.
Yes.
That's where the creativity, I recognize that that was my healing balm, is that it's a certain joy and a sense of fulfilling when expressing. When I'm
Hmm.
not expressing, I am depressed. Also, there's a
Mm.
certain time of the season on the planet where I must strategically allow myself to be in a calmer climate with regard to the sun. So I must schedule traveling during the winter time. It seems to
Yes.
happen for me. And I
Same.
must have strategically something creative planned that I could throw myself into. That's why people see me during the wintertime. They see on my socials, it's like, woof,
Yeah.
painting. I had a whole season and years of creating jewelry. This last season, since 2020, I'm painting. I didn't know I even liked to paint. Um,
Hmm.
so understanding your divine makeup is part of that.
Hmm.
So you can either stay in the cycle or it lifts or you seek for comfort and healing through avenues. For
Hmm.
me, it's been creativity,
Hmm.
right? For others, it may not be something physical they create. Maybe you're designed to be a listener.
Hmm. Hmm.
Maybe you recognize that just holding space for others helps them to talk out and cry out and work out, and you ain't even said nothing. That's because your essence alone. Maybe it's your tone of your voice.
Hmm.
Maybe it's someone that writes. Maybe there's someone that's quiet and they text you a comforting word. They have a sister friend her ministry and administering. So ministry is ministering and helping and
Yeah.
serving. And she sends a text every morning. It's called Morning Glory. So I feel like it's like an angel from the ethers. Morning Glory. And
Yeah.
she says something beautiful. She sends out just to a small group of, but that's her thing.
Yeah, I
That's
have a friend
her
like that too.
way.
Mhm.
That is one way to fulfill her.
Yeah.
So when you have these situations, you're going to go one way or the other, one way or the
Mhm.
other, and that could strike up this awakening experience. Now I
Yes.
wanted to shift to how we connected and ended up you giving me the opportunity to do one-on-one lake therapy healing with sound. I
Mhm.
was attending your professional class. You invited some of us that had invested in your technique from your business, and we came and we were sitting at the salon and observing. And you had mentioned, oh, Chakra Wanda, I see you do the sound bowls, right? And what's so
Mhm.
interesting, before I went on the trip to come and sit in the class, I heard in my spirit, take your bowls everywhere you go.
Wow.
And
Uh-huh.
I was staying at my daughter's house in Atlanta, and as soon as I got there, I went into the bedroom and put the bowls at the end of the bed. And I knew that I should wake up that morning and do my healing. And then I packed them up and put them in the car. Then I show up for work, for business. And you just said, hey. And then
Mhm.
you mentioned your husband and you hiking this mountain. And so when you mentioned it, I said, well, I just happen to have my bowls. And you
Yeah.
said, well, we go hiking. I said, is there a lake? And then next thing you know, you all were hiking and you showed me the place and I set up. And then you came and your husband allowed us to have time and
Mhm.
we were by the water and I have it all filmed. I have filmed, you know what I mean. And
Mhm.
intuitively working with the energy and the sound. And then this woman approached us off the parking lot.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful goddess queen. Her skin was beautiful, dark as coal. And she
Mhm.
came, and you were laying down, and she's coming like this. And I said, hold up, we gotta let the meat, recover. And then
Mhm.
she just came and she said, I've never heard the sacred sounds in nature like this. I know about
Yes.
the and she shared some wisdom. She said, this is a must. We have to come out.
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
healers must come
you
out.
do. Yes.
Like this is happening now. Because a lot of us as healers have studied a whole lot of things.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And you say, oh, I'm not ready yet. I'm not fully
Mm.
accepted yet. Let me tell you,
Mhm.
no day is promised.
Yes.
Here without sharing and squeezing all the juice out of the gift of fruits that's inside of you.
Yes.
And remember your dark nights. Because
Mhm.
those could have not been a next day.
Oh man. Yeah. So true. So true. I believe
Mhm.
in that and I love that you talked about that. Um So, because you really answered all the questions, but one of them would be you speak of the third, fourth, and fifth dimensions, right? How
Yeah.
has this awareness shaped the way you move through life and support others in these different dimensions?
Okay. And so they are not separate places.
Right.
They are awarenesses. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
boil it down. And Spirit helped me this morning to make sure I was organized. So I'm the simple thing is the earth is third dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The third dimension is about survival.
Mm-hmm.
Even those that have a lot of money and it's a survival mode.
Yes.
And so fourth dimension is the awareness of possibility. Okay, the price is right. Everybody know about the price is right. I think still have the prices right.
I think
So
so.
okay, so there's three doors. You got door number one, two, or three. Door
Mhm.
number one, you could go through that door and see it as it is and take it like it is,
Mhm.
or you can shift into an awareness. Well, maybe there's another possibility. That's door number. That's the fourth dimension. You can go through
Mhm.
that door. You operating in, okay, this is what shows up. Hmm. But what is the next possibility of the reason for this showing up? How can I see it differently? And fifth
Mhm.
dimension is where you are operating in the knowing by choice that I'm going to see it from the fourth. All right? That's simple. You can Google everything else. Okay?
Mhm.
Right? This situation showed up. I can't pay a bill, or I got a health situation. How can I see it? What's the underlining metaphorical message? The
Right.
old way is, oh my God, this is happening.
Mhm.
This is going to continue to happen. The worst case scenario is going to happen. And the worst case scenario ain't even happened, but you imagined it. That's the
Mhm.
power,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? But the
And
world
this is
showed
the
me
fourth
that,
dimension.
yeah.
Okay.
But the world has shown me, I've seen evidence that when it comes that way, third dimension, everything is going to tear up and break down.
Mm.
Fourth dimension and fifth, even fifth, uh, well, but what have you asked for? I
Mm.
got a pink slip from the job. Oh my God, how am I gonna pay my bills? Fourth dimension. But haven't you and you ain't really like that job? And fifth dimension is, well, haven't you been journaling and visioning and researching that whole new thing and getting into the euphoric feeling as if you already been in the thing? And haven't you been dancing and skipping around it? And third dimension bring you back, but you ain't got no job. How you gonna get your bills paid? But fourth dimension and fifth dimension is like, wait a minute now. And what
Yeah.
happens is the universe will bring to you those that are actually operating in the thing, and you give an
Yeah.
opportunity. So you either gonna get a pink slip or you gonna transition on your own.
Mhm.
And it's gonna feel uncomfortable.
Oh, it is always very uncomfortable.
You're
I
gonna
mean,
feel
I
uncomfortable.
love exactly how you explain that because that's exactly how I relate to the dimensions. It's different states of awareness. And so, this third dimension, this dense reality, will have you thinking one way because, that's the practical logic state of mind and awareness. And the fourth dimension is acts. All you have to do is be aware and acts. And then the fifth dimension is the realization of, oh, I did ask for this. Oh, that's why this is happening. And it brings that sense of calmness and state of peace with awareness that these are the things you're asking for, and it's transitioning to create what
Mhm.
I like to call your heaven on earth,
Right.
right? And a lot of people don't realize that we're all getting ready to usher into that fifth dimension because when COVID happened and we all received trauma in COVID. If you said you
Mhm.
never had trauma before COVID, you had
Mhm.
trauma, okay, in some kind
Mhm.
of way because it stirred something up in us, like the
Mhm.
unknown. And so we
Mhm.
all began to ask questions and come to that state of
Mhm.
awareness, like, well, what is my heaven? What does
Mhm.
that look like? And so I
Mhm.
see a lot of people shifting into that fifth dimension, bringing it into this reality, our
Mhm.
new reality into the fifth dimension. So I love that you discussed that because that's exactly how I understand it to be as well. So our next question goes into purpose, passion, and prosperity.
Mhm.
What do those three words, purpose, passion, prosperity, personally mean to you right now?
Again, anchoring around and not forgetting the beauty of the support, the unseen support, because I believe in the unseen support that's been assigned to us.
Yes.
We could say angels, definitely ancestors, prayers that the ancestors have put before. laid out like a red carpet for you to walk on in this
Mhm.
moment. So anchoring purpose from that perspective
Mhm.
and the sacredness of every moment is not promised. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sacredness of our unique and divine connections, who you have close in your heart garden, who you even spend time with, who you even share yourself. I told my children, um, you have A friends, see it like a circle around you. You're gonna have A friends, those are the anointed ones that's right here, maybe one or two. Then you got B friends. That's another circle. Those are ones
Yeah.
that want to be around you or be connected with your energy. Some of
Mhm.
them might close, and then some of them might do their own work and some might not. Then you got the C friends. Those are all the social media. They see you. They just want to see, see, see.
Mhm.
They ain't trying to do no work. They ain't trying to be, and they ain't trying to be A. That's how I
Mhm.
explain that. P. Let me get back on ground. Um, purpose, right?
Mhm.
And then from that is that passion, connecting and aligning with what you've been wired and designed to do. And those that can change. Every 10
Mhm.
years, I'm guided or recognize that there's a shift happening.
Mhm.
I use a lot of metaphor, like being on the ocean in a sailboat. I don't have no oars, no motor. And God is the beautiful wind that's guiding me. Then all of a sudden, a big wind comes and shifts me in another direction. I don't see
Mhm.
no shore, but I have to trust that there is a shore.
Yes.
Okay? That piece.
Mhm.
Purpose, passion, and from that is the prosperity.
Yes.
Okay? And prosperity looks like a whole lot of things.
It
It
does.
looks like people seeing your goal and making room and space in there. Maybe it's something that you always wanted to do. I'll give an example. When I started Periscope, someone said they saw me on Periscope years ago, 2014, 2000 and I don't know, because it shut down in 2020.
Okay.
And you never saw me on the screen, but you saw me play my instruments. And then there was
Mhm.
another soul that came on and said, "Oh, I do self-care retreats, and I'd like for you to come on a cruise with me and present with other facilitators." And I did a guided meditation. I envisioned that I was on a ship and I was doing this work and I
Mhm.
was moving amongst people. Next thing you know, catapulted, I end up experiencing that, you know?
Wow.
Just
Yeah.
like I always wanted to live near the water. I experienced living, I had to walk out and see the water. I live 10 minutes around the same place right now. So many when you begin. So that's where prosperity comes in. And it's
Mhm.
in that the provision to take care on the third dimension where we need to take care of. But that's a ever evolving because collectively, depending on how you were raised and culturally and what was happening on the planet, there's work that still has to be done in all areas of your garden.
Yes.
Still work. You have to go in and look at some of the programming that you operate from. You got to
Yeah.
spend time with that. What kind of
Yeah.
relationship do you have with money?
Yes.
It's not the money, it's the relationship and the
Mhm.
filter of how you see things. And some
Mhm.
of that is epigenetic.
Oh.
Now we go on Google epigenetic. In other
Okay.
words, that means trauma that has happened
Yes.
in your lineage.
Image. Mhm.
All
Ancestral
right.
trauma. Mhm.
Okay. That shows up next.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's for any area of your life.
Yes, that is so true. You basically answered the next question, which would have been, how do you stay in alignment with unexpected forms of prosperity and abundance? You know,
Hmm.
and that question still could be answered, but I do believe that how to stay in alignment is to heal those ancestral traumas,
Hmm.
because it kind of envelopes in you in a way that you don't even realize until you really look,
Hmm.
like, why do money burn through my hands so quickly? Why do money feels like it's unsafe with
A
me?
roller coaster ride.
A roller coaster ride with money. And then you have to look back and say, how did I treat money? How do I view money? Where did this come from? And
Mhm.
so when you begin to do the work and heal those traumas, then you basically set yourself free from the way that you think and view money and
Mhm.
allow it to come to you instead of chasing it. Because I realized I had a
Mhm.
big tower moment. You and I know about the tower moments
Mhm.
I've had from business and business relationships. And so I realized that it was me. I was chasing money. And if you have to chase money, that means it's
Mhm.
running from you. So I'm like, no, I have to allow myself to receive money by
Mhm.
living in my passion. That's how you bring
Mhm.
prosperity about. And so this is
Mhm.
why I started living these three P's, I call it,
Yeah.
from purpose, passion, prosperity, because I realized they align together. So I
Mhm.
love that. Well, I don't know if you wanted to add to that. Did you?
I agree wholeheartedly. What I find is when I'm in alignment with the part of my life that gives me the fuel I need, and that is different for each person.
Hmm.
When you're in alignment with what gives you fuel, you could be, and I've experienced working the 9 to 5, nothing knocked in it because when I was younger and I watched my mother work in the government, and I said, oh, when I start to work, I think I want a job that causes me to think and have to put things together as a puzzle. I remember really feeling that. I said, I want a job that has a lot of paperwork. It was organization. I didn't articulate it then that way, but I remember vividly like it was yesterday. And then as time went on, even though I didn't have the formal a college pass, I
Hmm.
literally I literally visioned my way into the corporate arena. I
Mm.
went for an interview to do a job in the mailroom in the basement, and back in that day, women didn't do that kind of thing, whatever. But I learned the day before how to operate the mail machine.
Mm.
Then went in and operated the mail machine. And I said, I know I'm the first female to come through, but I got this.
Wow.
So it's that spark that you recognize inside of you.
Yeah.
I was still an introvert. And I recognized, even my own people that I thought I could mentor with had
Hmm.
something. Maybe then I didn't recognize my physique or whatever. I'm not saying I was all that in a bag of chips, but I recognized later on. I said I was just a little cute little young girl, and people were intimidated. And the males
Yeah.
was trying to put their hands on me, and I was from the
Yeah.
street. But the bottom line is, I excelled in those arenas. I recognized that I could take a thing and alchemize it. You know,
Yes.
I those terms I didn't know, the way I didn't know.
No, yeah.
And I used to also envision and imagine how it would feel to experience a thing and it would unfold. So through
Yes.
osmosis, you
Yes.
recognize these things, even in the midst of the dark night,
Yes. So
even in the midst of the dark night.
I love that. Thank you for that. That so is in alignment with how I live my life, envisioning and
Mhm.
imagining myself out of the dark night, as you said, and then realizing it into reality. So let's move on to soul legacy and closing wisdom. It's 10
Mhm.
o'clock here, and I knew you was gonna
Yes.
go over because we get all into it. The spiritual be there. Okay, so
Mhm.
what message or mantra is anchoring you in this chapter of life?
In this present moment, in this present day, my desire is to live as fully aware and awake as I can, to recognize love within this moment and my divine connections and acknowledge that on this side of the veil. That's it.
Yes. Yes.
Because it's such joy. Like, if you follow this
Mm-hmm.
aspect of listening to
Yeah.
creator with listen, Listen,
Yep.
even when you sit before teachers, there's no arrival point. Get what you need from this teacher, that teacher, what have
Right.
you. Okay? Listen and connect with your most authentic way of being.
Mm,
And life will surprise you.
mm,
There will be such joy delivered, and it's exciting
hmm.
to
It is.
witness. Not just for yourself, you can witness unfolding for others as well.
Hmm.
Be who you came here to be.
I
That's
love
it.
it. I love it. And that answers all the rest of the questions, which was what do you want our listeners to remember about living an awakened life? And the last would be if you could whisper something into the heart of every woman listening, what would it say?
That's
And
it.
that's it. That's it. That's it. Thank you so much, Chakra Wanda. And thank you for all the people who joined in and listened on
Yeah.
and those who would see this later. You
Yeah.
guys, if you have not done so already, please make sure to follow Chakra Wanda and she has some beautiful offerings from AI artistry to all the healing modalities you can think of, sound healing, and all those great things. So make sure to follow. And if you have not followed me yet, follow and subscribe. I will be leaving this recording to our subscribers with a write up of my innermost thoughts about this session today and how beautiful it was. Thank you so much for creating time to be here with me and sharing space with me. And I look forward to doing more things with you. Hopefully, we can do a in-person meetup.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what I'm looking forward to. But yeah, until next time, make sure to follow and subscribe wherever you are watching from. All right.
Thank
Peace and
you.
blessings,
Peace
everyone.
and blessings.
Thank you. Bye bye. Y'all, that was great.